Okay, hello. So in this video, we will try to find the second largest number in our array. Let's see how we can approach this problem. So first of all, what we need to do is to actually create an array. So uh, let's say we have an array which contains 20. Then it has, let's say, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Let's say this is our array. And what we need to find is actually the second largest number. And here we can say it's 40 is our second largest number, but how we are actually going to find it. So what is the approach of it? An array can be of a very much lengthy, not only these 4 characters, but that maybe can be over 100 characters plus. So first of all, what we need to do is to find the length. This array length we need to find. For example, now our array length is 4. I could say, okay. So this is going to be our first step of the problem, is finding the length of that array. For that, we could simply use the length function, and it will provide us with length. So we don't need to worry about that because we have a built-in function for this thing. Okay, we have to worry about the second implementation. Okay, for the second one, what my approach is, there can be multiple approaches. But one of the approaches, we can sort the array. If we sort the array, for example, we have 20, 30, 40, and then 50. We know that the second largest element will also be on the second last index of our array every time. So we don't need to worry about wherever it is, but we know that the second last element will have our second largest element. So if array is sorted, only then, and then we can have a next issue. And the next one is that we can have another approach, which is the double two-pointer approach. For what I mean for a two-pointer is that, first of all, we found out the max. And how are we going to find out the max of our array? Is that we create a variable and we say, okay, this variable has a value minus infinity. And then we compare each value of our array with this minus infinity. Like, for example, if I have this, I compare it with minus infinity. Is 1 greater? And this is my max. Okay. I'll say if 1 greater or this minus infinity is greater. So I know that this minus infinity is smaller. So I'll say, okay, max is 1. Now, for the second index, I need to compare 1 with the 2. So now I compare that. Is 1 greater or is 2 greater? I know that 2 greater, so I'll cut off the 1, and now my max got 2. Then next time I'll compare it with 3, and I'll cut off the 2, and I'll say 3. And for example, if there is like a 1 more 2 in there, and I say, is 3 greater or 2 greater? Because in my max there is 3. So I'll say, no, 3 is greater. So I'll keep it in my max and not change it. Then I'll compare it with 4. I say 4 is greater or 3. And I cut the 3 and I say 4. So that's how I can find it max. So I got the max of my array, which is 4. So now then, what's the next thing to do? Now I have a max. Now what I have to do is to find the second largest. So the approach is going to be same. Now I have max. This max is 4. And now what I need to do is to max, let's say S max. So this is going to be a second max. So the approach is kind of same, but this time I have to double check it. And how I'm going to double check it? First of all, I'll assign my x max to minus infinity again, but this time the check is going to be double. And how? Now I say, okay, this s max value, which is minus infinity right now, is greater or small. Let me create an array again. 1, 2, 1, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 is taking as max, so I'll go with the 4, and let's say 2 here again. Okay. Okay, so now I'll say second max. I will compare it with 1. I'll say, okay, is that greater than the minus infinity? I say yes, the 1 is. So the second max got 1 in it. But when I am comparing these values with the minus infinity, I am also doing a one more comparison. And what's that comparison is that element that I'm accessing right now is less than our max. Because we are going to find the second largest, so not the max. So these is the two conditions that is going to be applied. And then you know that this will be removed and this will be 1, then it will find 2, then it will find 3. So at every index it will compare is that value is greater than the previous second max and also smaller than the big max that we have. So actually it's just a comparison of the second max is greater than our variable, greater than variable x max and smaller than max. So now we can see it in a coding implementation, and if there is still any doubts, that will clear the air for you. So I'll jump onto the coding part now. Let's see. So, okay, here we go. Again, we are on a Jupyter Google Colab, and here we're trying to do our second largest element find. So how we get to that? Already go up to that approach is, first of all, I create an array. Let's create an array, and that array contains 20, 60, 25, 60 again, 67, let's say 90. Okay, and now if I run it, let's see. It will take some time connecting for the first time. Okay, so I have an element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements in it. So I can just say, okay, length is kind of 6. So first of all, let's find the length. So for length, I'm creating a variable, and that is saying len and array. Okay, so let's just find out first, and let's print it. Okay, yeah, perfect. So our length is a 6 and it has total 6. Okay, so now what we need to do is to create two variables. First, we need to create max because we want to find the max in our video. So this is going to be max, and I am initializing it with minus 9999999. And if I run it, perfectly fine, it run it. So that's just like an infinity. Okay, now I need to take a loop. So for I in range of what? In range of length. So I need to run my loop up till my length, and then inside that, what I have to do is to actually do the comparison. So first of all, I take the value if my array index I is greater than max, which is going to happen for the first time. What you need to do is to say max equal to ARR I. So let's see, let's run it. Okay, perfectly fine. And if I check out for this max, hopefully what's going to happen that inside this max, I'm going to get this 90. Yeah, perfect. So I'm getting that 90, and how I get that is only by these two lines and no built-in function. I must have used the maths, but we try to do it without implementing the built-in functions because the generic organic coding is best for the understanding. So I just compare these two values. First of all, the max is being compared with 20. So minus 999 or 20, which one is greater? 20, exactly. So this max is gonna get 20. Then this 20 is compared with 60. They say, okay, which one is greater? They're gonna say 66, 60. So the max has got 60, and that's how it's compared with everyone. And the last comparison is done with the 67 is greater or 90. It's gonna say 90. So yeah, there we go. 90 is in the max. We got the max value, but that was not what we were trying to do. We were trying to do the second largest, which is, we can say, second max. Okay, how we can do that is we need to implement a very simple thing again. So for I in range, I'll go for the same length. I will go for the same function. And this time, I told you we need to do another comparison. And if we move up there, this comparison is going to happen now. We need to compare it for the max, and we also have to compare it with our original max value. Is that it or not? Basically, when I'll do that, you will understand it way better. So now if I say if array I, first of all, let's create a second max. Second largest, I'll just sec large. So that, okay, let's do it largest so you understand better. And I'm going to initiate it with 999 because of just like any random infinity value. So now if I'm going to do the comparison, if this ARR1, which is actually this 20, is greater than second largest, and at the same time, what we need to do, at the same time, we need to do the comparison because we are finding the second largest. We need to do the comparison that is it less than our main max. So I'll also go with the and I'll say, or I can just simply type and, okay. And I need to say, is this ARRI is less than my max, which is this one. Okay, if that happen, you can assign sec largest to ARRI. Okay, so now the comparison is a little different. What we are trying to say is compare these two values. First, this one with the 20, and at the same time, we're also making sure that this 20 is less than our max value, which is 90. So it's gonna work, and let's see if I run it. Let's see if there is any error. No errors. So hopefully what we are expecting in our second largest is this 67. And if I just print it out, perfect. So we got the 67 here. And this is the comparison that we did. I'll go over through it once again. We'll just take a minute. First of all, we initialize the array. We got its length. We use len function. We got its length. Then we initialize a max variable, which is minus 99999 minus infinity. You can say that. And we did the comparison. We compare each value with this one. First, this max infinity, we compare it with 20. And we found out that 20 is greater. So we can say, okay, now my max got the 20. Then after that, we say 60 is greater or 20 is greater. We say, obviously 60. So now my max got the 60. Then we compare it with 25. We say 60 is greater or 25 is greater. It's going to say, nah, 60 is greater. So we don't say, we don't get inside this if statement, and we just continue. And that's how we find the max. And this is how exactly we find the second max. But the changes here is that on each iteration, we have also checking it, is that greater than this value, but also is that less than our main max 90. So first of all, it's going to take a compare of this minus 999 with 20. It's going to say, okay, this 20 is good. It's greater than our second largest value, which is right now minus infinity. And then it also checked that is that 20 is less than this 90, because we are talking about second largest and not largest. So it say, okay, yeah, this 20 is less. And for the next time, this 20 is being compared with 60. But then at the same time, this 60 is also being compared with 90, because we are finding the second largest and not the largest. So that is how it is done. If you have any question, just comment it and I'll try to answer them. Okay, goodbye.